So, I popped into High House Insurance to see if they could quote for my house insurance rather than using the internet. High House got a great deal. So, to celebrate, I bought a posh hairdo. It made me look beautiful, gorgeous enough to become a highly paid model. I then won Celebrity Big Brother. I had an affair with an MP. Now, I'm promoting a doll of me that says, "Cool, blimey, you're well fit."
Happy things happen when you talk face-to-face with High House Insurance. See if we can beat your home insurance quote from the internet. Find us on the High Street, Selsey, or call 606 552.
This is Hugh Graham for Selsey Internet Radio, and I'm talking with Reeve from Tuppenny Rice and Mike Fletcher, and we are having the third discussion on the Park Farm development. Mike, can you tell us what the numbers are now?
Roughly about 60-40 in favour of it.
Yeah.
I think after the initial anxiety, which is perfectly natural, people actually getting it and going, actually, you know, this makes sense.
Yeah.
We know what's going to happen. We've got full knowledge of everything, all the parts of it, and we see that it's an opportunity for the whole of Selsey to really gel, and instead of being very seasonal and losing its trade to Chichester, to be able to take all that stuff back. And it's a great opportunity.
Yeah.
They're seeing it, and they're actually going, well, thank you very much, and I can do stuff now that I couldn't do before.
So what do you think then? Do you think it's working?
I think that what Mike just said is absolutely true. After the initial shock, people have settled down and thought, right, what can we do here? And then having thought along those lines, they're thinking, well, we can do that anyway. And the shops in Selsey are beginning to change and are beginning to cotton on to that fact. And the shopkeepers are starting to work together as well on that.
Really?
As well. So it's quite a good thing to see happening, with or without Asda coming in, I have to say, even though you know that I'm in favour of Asda.
Sure.
I have to say that's a good thing. It's made people look at their own businesses and say, what can we do here?
Well, what sort of changes are you expecting to happen?
Just subtle things, actually, to start with. It'll be very subtle, and then in a couple of years' time, you probably won't recognise half the shops, but it'll be very subtle to start with. Little things.
Yeah.
Doing things Asda can't do, or don't do, or won't do in Selsey. Yeah. Doing that kind of thing and changing your business. If you've got a retail unit, you can put anything in there, can't you?
Yes, you can.
You know, you are governed by certain laws. You can't suddenly change and be a restaurant overnight. You've got to go along different lines. But you've got a shell. Basically, you're renting or leasing a shell, and you can put anything in there, as long as you don't tread on too many people's toes when you do it. And that's why it's a good idea. It's good that the shopkeepers are coming together now and saying, well, okay, I can see that you're doing that, and you're doing toys or whatever, so I'm going to diverse into something else or whatever. I think that's lovely.
What do you think? Can you see anything happening already, Mike?
I think I've spoken to a lot of people, and they've all got a lot of fantastic ideas. I think there's going to be a period of about 2 years.
Yeah.
I think everybody's right to be planning what they're going to be doing. We've got to get it built. Yes, I think Theresa's absolutely right. Sorry, Lynn's absolutely right, because it's been a catalyst. A lot of people wanted to do things. Now they see that there's the opportunity to do it, and it's going into an investment where you know there's going to be a medium of return, i.e. there's going to be more people coming, you've got a great opportunity coming. So if it works in its basics now, it's going to work. Yeah. Because of the numbers. It's going to be a numbers game. And I think it's also quite right that everybody talks to each other, plans it. There's no need to compete with each other within Selsey. That would be, it's almost madness. Yeah, there'd be people doing similar things, but if two people set up doing the same thing, that would be just a lack of communication. There's no need for that. There's no need to be more expensive. You charge market rates and you do things correctly. And I think it's going to be about quality. And I think here's a great opportunity for Selsey to say, right, we've spent a number of years without much direction and we didn't have confidence to do something. We've now seen it, what we can do. This development will bring us the money back and the footfall, etc. Now, let's do it really well so that people go, actually, if you've been down to Selsey, it's some really good stuff and it's fun.
And it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's a chap I'm talking to later on this morning called Steve Saunders, who runs the local DVD shop. And he's suddenly spotted a niche for repairing iPhones.
Fantastic.
And he's the only one doing it in Selsey. And actually, I think he's the only one doing it at a sensible price in the whole of this area.
Probably.
And he's fixing something, an incredible number of phones a week now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a niche that he's exploited, or identified really, and now he's exploited.
It's good.
So I
You
think
have to send your phone away, don't you? It's such a nuisance.
Exactly, and they often don't come back either.
that's right.
Up to mine.
So, what about the idea then, Lynn, of your street market?
Yeah, it's on hold for the moment.
Yeah.
We are going to be having further discussions with both shopkeepers and market traders. I think there's going to be some kind of questionnaire put around as well, isn't there, to see what the actual people in Selsey want. And so it's on hold until all that's done. And
So market research, really?
A bit more market research done on it, then we'll come back to it.
What do you think the advantage of a street market is?
Footfall.
Yeah,
It's
right.
got to be footfall in the village.
I
in the
heard
town.
that some of the retailers are against it because it would take trade or something
Yes.
like that. I think that's very short-sighted, because you're absolutely right. It's about footfall. It's also about getting people to come to Selsey who aren't used to doing it. And our company, Langmead Produce, wants to have a stall, wants to get involved with it, and then we're going to come and sell herbs, and so we'll be a part of the scenery. But I think I think it's a great idea, and it's just a question of people coming and setting out their stall.
Okay, so if we have a street market then where would it be?
Well, we haven't yet finally decided.
All right, so I know you haven't decided, but where would you like to have it?
Okay, in the high street.
In the high street,
In
where?
my ideal world, it would be in the high street, and we'd have a road closure. If anybody's ever been to Lymington and seen the market they have there,
I've been to Lymington, and it's a fantastic street market.
and it's every Saturday and Wednesday, and it closes that whole main high street. And they have learned to adapt and go around the high street, and people will after a certain amount.
Well, there's no earthly reason why the shopkeepers couldn't have a stall either, is there?
Oh no, of course not. You're allowed to do what you want outside your own shop anyway. So
And that's how they do it in Petworth as well, and
Yeah.
Midhurst. They do street markets there, and they simply do a diversion and sort out the parking so everybody can get parked and come along and enjoy it. And it works very well. Yeah.
I wouldn't like to see one part of Selsey benefit and the other not. So I wouldn't like to see it all at one end of the high street. I'd like to see it along the high street. I think it's quite important that shopkeepers feel a part of it.
Well, from the fire
wherever they
station
are.
up to the Riviera,
Well,
then?
why not? If it gets that big, why not?
Yeah.
You know, I think there are ways around things. And the initial shock of, please don't let there be a stall selling what I'm selling. Well, that won't happen, hopefully, because we will be doing it sympathetically. Hopefully.
And which day would you choose?
For me, it would be a Friday.
Friday.
Although a lot of people, there's a lot of discussion on that. I know when we mentioned Friday before, a lot of people said, well, why can't we have it on the weekend? Because we're at work on Friday and we would support it if it was a Saturday or a Sunday. So perhaps that could be one of the questions in the market research thing. Yeah, you know, what day would you like to see it on? We'll go with what the people want at the end of the day, won't we?
Yeah.
Or we'll try to. I'm saying we, like it's me doing it. It's not me personally doing it. It's a lot of people doing it, but I say we, you know, collectively.
Okay. Mike, you've done, or you've been concerned with a number of developments. Where else has a store like Asda made a huge difference?
I know of Tetbury, and I also know Shepton Mallet,
Right.
where they have there was the same thing, the same anxiety, and in reality, everybody saw it. Just you know, it was well planned, and everybody knew about it for some months, and they suddenly got it and thought, hang on, there's people coming to town now. And whereas they weren't before, and
So this is an opportunity.
it is, and all Asda's going to take is it's not going to take really anything from Selsey, because people who shop in Budgeons and Co-op because they're what we call basket trade. What Asda's going to do is take a weekly shop.
Basket cases.
No, they're not. But it's basically all it's going to take is business away from Chichester.
Yeah.
Tough luck, Chichester. It comes from here, so let's have it back again.
They can afford it, yeah.
So, how long ago was Shepton Mallet?
Shepton Manor's quite recent, and
What was
Tetbury
the
was
last
in
5
the
years?
last 10 years.
10
yeah,
years,
yeah,
okay.
last 5-10 years.
And now the high street in Shepton Manor is booming?
It's great, yeah, it's going well, yeah.
Okay. Have the retailers changed what they're retailing?
Inevitably, yes, yeah. I mean, there's the artisans, the butchers, bakers, etc., have done very well, and the nature of the town has changed. I know in Tetbury, all of a sudden you got wine bars and things like and bistros springing up, and people actually started going out in the town in the evening.
Really?
It's shocking. It was quite good. So it worked very well. Yeah.
And I suppose once people are adjusted to coming into Selsey because of Asda, they might be persuaded to come here for dinner too, mightn't they?
Well, that's it. You give them an offering and say, "Come and have a look at this," and they will.
I think one of the arguments against Asda was that people won't come into Selsey, they'll go into Asda in the same way that they go into Budgeons and into the Co-op and then home again. They don't actually come up to the high street, and being that far out of town, one of the arguments was that people will go there. And my reply really to that is that we need to put something in the high street that they want to come and see then.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got shops in the high street that are vibrant and alive and the high street looks something like, oh, well, perhaps we'll go up to Selsey while we're going into Asda, then we are going to increase the footfall. So really it's down to all of us shopkeepers and everybody in the high street to get together and say, look, what can we do? You know.
You were talking last time we spoke, Lynn, about the possibility of having a museum or something like
I'd
that.
love that. I mean, there are several buildings really that would make a good museum.
Right.
And that would be something that people would come, and the children as well, mothers and fathers would bring their children to see the museum, especially if they held interesting things for them in there. I'd like to see all sorts on the high
Well,
street.
there's enough history in Selsey to make it a museum.
Everything. You've got the church, you've got the fishermen, you've got the smugglers, my private little thing, the smugglers. You've got all sorts of.
You've got the records too.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they used to bring ships ashore, so they could break them up.
Yeah.
It's interesting, these sorts of things, you don't know what it's going to be, and you're in a period of change, and once things do change, it suddenly becomes bleeding obvious what you've got to do. But right now, we can't see it. But one day you're going to go, why hasn't someone done that? You know, why aren't we doing that? Or why aren't we doing that? Or and so it's suddenly going to be shouting at you in the face. And but right now you can't see it.
Once the town is proud of itself, it'll pretty itself up too, won't it?
Yes.
And this high street will become decorative.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that we're not proud of ourselves in Selsey. I think we are.
I think Selsey, I'm not so sure pride is the right word, but I do think we are a very independently minded lot.
Absolutely. But I think this is what I am most proud of myself in doing this. It's taking a community which is very vociferous. And that's quite right, so there should be. In fact, I want them to be more vociferous about all the things that we want to get done in the future. And they're suddenly going, there's actually something to be proud of here too. And we are as good as anything. I was on one of those management training things where you get someone says, I'm okay, you're okay, that sort of thing. And I'm not okay, you're okay. And it's about how you see yourself and how you fit in with a community organisation or what have you. And Selsey was one of those things, almost whereas I'm not okay, you're not okay, where it's this huddled person, very defensive, and they suddenly went, actually, Chichis is doing okay, oh, you're okay, but I'm not okay. And now we're actually getting to the stage where I'm saying, why am I thinking that? Why am I? And now we will be in the situations where we can go, we're okay completely. We're okay, and everybody else is okay too. And we're as valid as anybody else, and it's good.
When Cameron came up with this idea some time ago of the big society, we discussed it here.
Oh right.
And we came to the conclusion that he's copying Selsey because all the things that he's advising we've been doing for years, like the community bus and the venture bus and all the things that happen, and the first responders and then the search and rescue team, which resulted from 2 kids getting lost on the beach. So Selsey's been looking after itself and its people for a very long time.
Because
this is just an extension of this, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it had to, didn't it? It was an island, it had to take care of itself, and it's still got that spirit, hasn't it?
See, that's it. This is why everyone in Selsey who lives here is right to call it a village, because although it's a town,
Yeah.
it's called a town, it says on the front, and it's got a town's worth of people. It's a village because it's got that
It's got a
spirit.
It's a
got
village mentality, isn't
It
it?
is. Dusseldorf has this, and
Yeah.
that's a huge city.
Yeah.
But it has that same village approach. A lot of people, you know each other,
Yeah.
even though it's a big city. There's far more. It's not like London where you don't know your neighbour.
Yeah.
They all do know each other's neighbours, and they will know each other across town, etc. And it's got little communities and smaller communities within that, and that's what Selsey's got. I don't think they've got that at Chichester so well.
Okay. Right, now tell me then, Michael, what procedure do you as an organisation have to go through before someone says, yes, you can do it?
Well,
What are the stages to go through now?
It's enormous. The paperwork on this, it's been submitted, and
To whom?
Chichester District Council.
Right.
They consult on highways, on flooding, on noise, on visual impact, on ecology, on everything, and it takes months. And they go off to various specialists look at it. We have our own specialists who've done reports and studied it within an inch of its life, because when we've had QCs look at it from a legal point of view, all that sort of stuff. So we've given them a very good case, and they obviously did retail studies as well, and shopping habit studies and all that. So that's all been shoved under the nose of Chichester, and they will take their own time to look at it very critically, as they do, and work it out in terms of their own policy, emerging policy, government policy, and all that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, it's great that they have this whole localism idea, and that comes from central government to say, well, look, we've tried to plan things, but you've got to say what you want. And so we went to this is why we took the whole thing through via the town council before, the neighbourhood planning group. But at the end of the day, we need people to say what they think and to write to Chichester and say so. And that can be done on an email, it can be done by letter.
And so are you inviting people to do that now?
Yes, absolutely. Do it straight away.
So anybody listening today,
Yes.
if they are in favour of the scheme
Or they're against it.
or against it,
They want something in between.
they need to communicate what they feel
Yes.
to Chichester District Council.
Yes.
Who do they address their email to? Or
It's,
letter?
If you put one to dcplanning@chichester.gov.uk, I
Right.
think that will get there. You could post it into Chichester at Parent House.
Yeah.
And they've got their website, which is www.chichester.gov.uk,
Yeah.
with all the contact details on it. And Andrew Frost is the head of planning there, so you could address it personally to him. Carol Purnell is one of the local councillors, so she won't be getting involved in the planning process personally, I don't believe, but she will be receiving any submissions people want to make as well, and she'll make sure they get to the right place.
Yeah. When will the decision be made?
It will take at least 8 weeks. It'll probably be more like 12. In reality, it may be longer than that.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Michael. Michael has just told us when the decision on ANASDA will be made.
Yes.
I'm very fascinated to talk to you both. We've got Steve Saunders and Nikki here now. You've actually completely changed your business, haven't you?
We have, yes.
Why?
Because you've got to keep moving and changing with the times. Now, primarily when we took it over 5 years ago, it was a DVD rental store, which
Yeah.
had been going 24 years when we took it over.
Yeah.
But with the way the world's changed with internet and everything, social media and everywhere else, we adapted our business to accommodate that. And now, the majority of our business now is phone repairs, tablet repairs, supplying the leads so people can watch the films on the TV off their phones, off their tablets. They're going to do it. Well, we might as well be selling the gear to them to do it.
Yeah. So, but how long do you think you'll be selling DVDs to?
Well, how long left we got?
Yeah.
As long as possible.
As long as possible, really, because it's still, as long as we can keep that going, the better.
But your shop is now doing DVDs. It's doing passport photographs.
Yes.
It's doing phone repairs.
Yes.
You're also publishing Selsey High.
Yes.
It's almost chairs reclaimed, washing taken in, delivery by light horse and van, isn't it?
Yeah. We were actually offered the other day a long dress. So.
Nothing wrong with that.
Have you got any other little arrows in your quiver?
We have got some other things coming together.
Yeah.
Yes, we're going to be, or we're in the process of negotiating to get a complete digital print solution machine in the store.
Yeah.
So people can bring in old photos, scan them, improve the quality, resize them, reprint them. So we'll be offering all that.
Do you belong to Selsey Business Partnership?
We do, yes.
How are you going to persuade the Selsey Business Partnership members not to duplicate what you're doing? I don't mean you personally, I mean,
Yeah.
so that you don't have too many people doing the same thing.
Yeah. So the conversation I had with you last week, Michael, via email, it's actually about people being honest and open and working together. It's main things, and people saying, "Oh, we're going to do this." Then instead of someone saying, "Oh, we're going to jump on the bandwagon and do the same," okay, you're doing, Lynn's doing the Fish Fridays. Okay, you do the Fish Friday, we'll do something Thursday. Actually working with each other and complementing each other and looking for the other avenue.
I think that's important. One of the things that we've got written on our wall in a foot high in our office is that for the herb business, produce a lot of herbs, is to delight your customers. If there's two of you doing it badly because you're too busy competing against each other, you're not going to delight your customers. Whereas if you don't tread on other people's toes, you do it well, you can then invest your time and money and professionalism into doing something really very well. And you may not be the cheapest, but you'll give people exactly what they want and they will pay for what they want.
Yeah, I think
If they don't do what they want, then they'll get upset about it.
What do you think, Lynn?
I think that's exactly right. I would like to see it where we can all come together and be honest about things and say, this is what I want to do. Will you please stay away from that, and can we negotiate something around that? I would love that. I've never wanted anything
But
more
there's
than
a sort of
that.
herd instinct. If you watch farmers, they all grow the same crop.
Well-
Someone's doing well on whatever it is, and all the farmers in the area suddenly jump on the same way.
And then none of them get anything.
Yeah, exactly.
It's money.
Yeah.
It just spreads the pot, doesn't it, basically?
Steve actually said it right, didn't he? We need to come together and we need to talk about things. So when we get an idea, maybe we should say to somebody, look, this is what I want to do, that your closest neighbour, whatever it is, your closest competitor, if you like, and say, this is what we want to do. This is what I want to do. What do you think? Blah, blah.
Okay.
So, and see how that goes. I don't know, but I'd love to see that happen.
Mike and Lynn think there's a huge amount of mileage in the street market. What do you think about that?
I think there is, yes. If it's got to be planned properly. The biggest obstacle with the street market is proving to other shopkeepers and other business owners that give it a try and it could work. But unless you try it, you're never ever going to know.
But there's no earthly reason why the shopkeepers can't have a stall either.
Exactly, they can bring their goods down to the pavement.
Yeah.
And that's why I said to Lynn and I said to other
What do you
people,
think,
it's-
Iggy?
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely right. They can put their own stuff out on a stall,
And if we
can't they?
And as I said before, if we try to do it sympathetically too, so that we don't have, perhaps the baker, we don't have bread selling out there, because we've got the baker in the village, then if we try to do it like that sympathetically, I don't see the harm. And to get that footfall in the village is of prime importance. And to make Selsey known for something.
Yes.
Like the high street is fun at Selsey. When the market's on, there's buskers, there's something else going on. I think that,
There's really a couple of Selsey businesses that do the Children's Farmers Market.
Yeah.
It would be lovely for those businesses actually to be doing Selsey Market as well as the Farmers Market or Children's Market. There's people actually in Selsey really doing the market.
Yeah.
Going back to identifying an opportunity, you share your retail unit with Reboot Computers, don't you?
Yes,
And that's run by Paul Edwards?
that's correct, yes.
Now, if I remember rightly, he has changed basically his whole strategy from desktop computers to laptops.
Yes, totally changed.
How did he actually learn how to do laptops?
Paul went online, he bought himself about a dozen broken laptops over eBay.
Yeah.
And then he sat there and took them all to pieces, all different makes.
Yeah.
He took them all to pieces one by one to learn how they were built, what components they had, how to fix the different components, and he actually rebuilt them. And I think out of the lot, he walked away with 8 working machines. Because he'd done his computers and college and everything else,
Right.
and he'd done all the stuff to do with desktops and everything else. But then he learnt the other side of it, because he's the only person in.
So when I was talking to him last week, he said to me that something like 70% of his business now is fixing laptops.
Yes, it is.
Really?
It is, yes. And he's the only person around here.
Because there's no one doing it in Cheshire, is
There's
there?
nobody around here doing laptop repair at all, apart from Paul.
Yeah.
And he's the only one who put new screens in, new cables, everything.
Well, he fixed my grandson's computer, and everybody else is like PC World saying, "Oh, you have to buy a new computer."
Of course they do.
Yeah.
But let's say even now,
Paul fixed it for what, 50 quid?
Yeah. And even now we've taken it further, the business, both sides of the business as well, is that nothing gets put in the dustbin.
Yeah.
Every part goes somewhere. We've just done with Wilford's Hospice, don't we?
Yeah.
So it's reclaimed too, isn't it?
Yeah. We say we send loads of stuff to St Wilford's Hospice because they can strip the gold off the boards.
Yeah.
So they actually make money out of it, and then that's getting recycled by another company.
Isn't it?
So everything gets recycled. Nothing goes in the bin anymore.
So if we're summing up what's happening in Selsey, surely the message really is we have to learn to cooperate with one another.
Yes.
How difficult do you think that's going to be?
I think it's going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
But the more of us that can start doing it and proving to the others it works,
Do you think
it will come together.
that the Park Farm development is a catalyst that will bring people together?
I hope so, if it's done properly and the councils actually back the businesses which are here already from the start.
Well, it's already started, surely, Steve, because the fact that the Park Farm development is a possibility is causing the retailers to talk together.
Yes, we've actually getting a
So it's
committee
begun,
together
isn't it?
at last.
Yeah.
You know.
It has begun.
Yes, it has begun. The foundations are there. We now need to build off those foundations.
Lynn, since all this began with you, how should we end this podcast?
Okay. Favourite quotation then, alright?
Yes.
What if the sky falls down, said Eeyore. What if it doesn't, said Pooh. Alright? We need to look at what we've got, we need to adapt, we need to work with it. More importantly, we need to get closer as a community of shopkeepers and work together in the village.
I think that sums up that
that's
beautifully.
it. Yeah.
That's it. Well, thank you all for coming in.
That's all right.
That's brilliant.